John from out in California said, how can you say there will never be a Cinderella in the college football playoff when we now have 12 teams and more of them can make it and win it all? Well, the way I can say that, John, I will explain to you. It's very simple. But the first thing I need to ask everyone, not just John, every one of us has to answer this because I have found that there's a big difference, person to person, in how we define Cinderella. So I'm going to tell you how I define Cinderella. It's winning a championship. Someone who's not expected to win a title, winning a title. Now, the first bit of pushback I'll get there is common, as I've seen, and that is, Josh, you don't have to win a title to be a Cinderella story. In fact, most of the Cinderella stories in college basketball never go on to win the title. It's just that they win a few more games than they were expected to. Yeah, I don't care about that because I don't care about college football compared to college basketball because they are two different sports. So I fully respect your opinion if that's how you think. What I'm saying is the point I'm about to make is moot. If all you think of as a Cinderella in college football is maybe Boise makes the tournament and wins a game, and that's a Cinderella story, we just define it differently. So if you define a Cinderella run, in other words, as an unexpected team that gets in, double-digit underdog, they win a game, boom, you have your Cinderella, that's possible. I'm not saying that's impossible. I'm saying it is impossible now, not unlikely, impossible for a lower-seeded Boise State G5 kind of team to make the playoff and win the whole title. Because to me, the college football playoff is not about access. It's not about just making the playoff. The entire purpose of a postseason tournament that features only 12 teams is to crown a national champ. You're in the tournament because allegedly you're good enough to win a championship. Now, we all know that's not real, but allegedly, to keep up the guys, you're good enough to win a title. So if you win the title, you succeeded, and if you didn't, okay, you had a good season, but it's not a Cinderella story. So with that in mind, I have made statements recently to the tune of a Cinderella story is never going to happen in college football, meaning a lower-seeded, double-digit underdog Boise-type team is not going to win a national championship. And I'm dead right about this. I promise you I am. Wish I wasn't, but promise you I am. But John and people who think like John have hit me back and said, no, how does that make any sense? Because nowadays, we'll have more of those kinds of teams who make the playoff. Therefore, there's a higher likelihood that one of them goes on to win the whole thing. I understand why you think that way, but you're not right. It's not going to play out that way. Here's the problem. If you long to see a Cinderella win it all in college football, you didn't realize it, but your best shot was the BCS era. And next to that, your best shot at a Cinderella-type team ever winning it all was the 4-team playoff era. You were as close as you will ever get to a Cinderella G5-type team winning it all in 2021 when Cincy made it, or even 2022 when TCU made it, even though they're in the Big 12, as you were ever going to get. You just didn't realize it because they got blown out. I'm not saying they ever had a good shot to begin with. Don't misunderstand me. They were never probably going to do it to begin with. But percentage-wise, odds-wise, you were as close as you were ever going to get. Now do you one better. Right now, we're still in the era of the 12-team playoff where you have the auto bid system. So like an Arizona State in the lower tier of the P4 or Boise, they can get first-round buys. They don't even have to play in the first round. They get a bye to the second round. You may not realize it right now, but right now in the 12-team era, you're as close as you'll ever get now because they are not going to keep that format for long. And it will eventually be just the top seeds in order, or worse, it will be the power conferences get a guaranteed amount of seats at the table. Either way, you are screwed. And so you're never going to see a Cinderella story. So, John, the reason I said it like that is because I understand how difficult it is for a team that is outmatched roster-wise and staff-wise to win 3 or 4 games in December and January. They're not going to do it. It's not, even if Boise would have beaten Penn State, they didn't. And the game was in hand. Honestly, I think Penn State played C+ football offensively, And the game was still, 31-14 or something like that. It was never going to happen. But if Boise did win that game, what were they going to have to do? They were then going to have to go through Notre Dame and probably Ohio State, and if not Ohio State, go through a Texas team that was good enough to beat Ohio State. Not happening. Whereas in the past, Cincinnati, you can say what you want to, but they only had to win 2 games. Now, it was against Alabama, and then it would have been against Georgia. Would they have pulled it off? No. But they had a better shot than if they had to play 4 teams like that. TCU, 2022. Not a G5 team, but certainly a team out of nowhere. They make the playoff. They even win a game. They beat Michigan. And then they go and just get obliterated by Georgia. And so I said this the other day. I said, hey, TCU and Cincinnati, those were your best shots. Someone said, well, Josh, TCU got blown out. I know. And then I just paused, like, does this person realize they're making my point for me? They didn't. It's not going to happen. So, again, you have to define which kind of college football you want. I've never really cared all that much about Cinderella stories. Not that I don't enjoy them, but I've never defined the caliber of college football, like how much I'm being entertained by college football, by whether a Cinderella team makes a run. I don't even watch March Madness and think that. People can call me elitist. Like, the places that care the most and invest the most, I've generally enjoyed seeing win. That's not to say I don't enjoy a Cinderella story every now and then, but by and large, I've not relied on them. But some of you think otherwise. That's totally fine. Like, some of you, Cinderella stories are like oxygen in March, which is okay. Just don't count on it in college football. This is not a fairy tale world. Football, when you get to put your hands on people legally and you get to impose physically your will, it's not an environment conducive to smaller guys consistently beating the bigger guys. Just not going to happen. So if you're relying on that, you're setting yourself up for a long December every December. Wish I was wrong, but I think I'm right.